History remembers the men who conquered the world. It forgot the women who did it first. One killed the greatest emperor alive. One built a fleet that empires couldn't defeat. One ruled for 20 years and was scrubbed from every record the moment she was gone. 15 women. All real. All buried. They get harder to believe the closer you get to number 1. Number 15. Laskarina Bubulina, the woman who blockaded an empire. 1821. The Greek War of Independence has just begun. The Ottoman Empire controls the region. The odds are catastrophic. Most people with money in that situation protect it. Laskarina Bubulina spent hers on warships. A Greek shipping magnate and widow, twice over. She used her personal fortune to build and arm a fleet, then sailed it herself to the siege of Nafplio, one of the most strategically critical ports in Greece. She didn't fund someone else's blockade, she commanded it. From the deck of her flagship, the Agamemnon, the largest privately owned warship in the Greek revolutionary fleet, the Ottoman Empire tried to seize her assets twice. She fought both attempts in court and won. She negotiated with warlords. She supplied armies from her own pocket when the revolutionary government ran out of money. When Nafplio finally fell, she was among the first through the gates. After her death, Russia, a major naval power, posthumously granted her the rank of admiral. She became the first woman in history to hold that rank in any navy. Not honorary, awarded, because the Russians looked at what she had actually done and decided there was no other word for it. She was a widow who built a fleet and blockaded an empire. They called her a businesswoman. History called her a footnote. She was an admiral. Number 14. Trieu Thitrin, 19 years old, one elephant against an empire. She was 19. The Wu Kingdom of China had occupied Vietnam for decades. An empire of millions, with a professional army, established supply lines, and all the advantages of an occupying power that has been in place long enough to feel permanent. Trieu Thitrin raised a force of 1,000 soldiers, rode into battle on an elephant, and held them off for months. When people asked her why fight? Why not accept what was and survive? Her recorded answer has lasted 1,700 years. She said she wanted to ride the storm, tread the dangerous waves, kill the sharks in the open sea, drive out the aggressors, reconquer the country, and break the bonds of slavery. She did not want to bow her head, be a concubine, be a servant. 19 years old, that was her answer. The Wu commanders were so unsettled by her that they reportedly tried psychological tactics before military ones, spreading stories about her appearance, her behavior, anything to undermine the reverence her own people had for her. It didn't work. They had to fight her. She was eventually defeated by overwhelming numbers, as almost anyone would be against the full weight of an empire. But she held for months at 19 with 1,000 soldiers. Vietnam remembers her. Temples were built in her name. She's been honored for 17 centuries. The rest of the world never learned she existed. Number 13. Artemisia, the first of Caria, the commander Xerxes trusted more than his generals. 480 BC. Xerxes of Persia is about to fight the most important naval battle of the ancient world. He has 1,200 ships. His commanders include some of the most experienced admirals in the known world. He asks all of them for their opinion before the battle. Every single one says attack. One says wait. One says the position is wrong, the timing is wrong, the Greeks fight better at sea than people assume. One says this battle can be avoided and Persia still wins. That one was Artemisia, queen of Halicarnassus, the only female commander in either fleet. Xerxes listened to her advice, acknowledged it was the best counsel he received, and then ignored it because his other commanders outnumbered her opinion. The Greeks won at Salamis, exactly as she'd predicted. Themistocles, the Athenian commander, offered a reward specifically for Artemisia's capture, more than for any other enemy commander in the battle. Not Xerxes, not his admirals, her, because she was considered that dangerous, that capable, that worth removing. She fought her way out. After the battle, Xerxes, watching from a throne on the shore, was asked which of his commanders had performed best. He pointed to Artemisia. He reportedly said his men had fought like women and his women like men. She was never captured. She went home. History put her name in a paragraph below Themistocles. It should have been the other way around. Number 12. Razia Sultana, the sultan who refused to wear a veil. 1236. Delhi. Her father, Sultan Iltutmish, had 4 sons. He passed over all of them and named Razia his successor. His reason was direct. He said his sons were devoted to wine and pleasure, and none of them were fit to rule. Razia, he said, was the only one with the qualities a sultan required. He was right. Razia Sultana took the throne, removed her veil, rode through the streets on horseback without a curtain around her, sat in open court and heard petitions directly, and commanded her army from the front. In the 13th century, in one of the most powerful Islamic sultanates on earth, she abolished purdah in her court. She promoted officials based on ability rather than birth or gender. She formed military alliances, suppressed revolts, and managed a kingdom that stretched across most of northern India. The nobles who served under her couldn't stand it, not because she was incompetent, they knew she wasn't, but because every order she gave, every decision she made correctly, every battle she handled better than they thought she would, it made their position more untenable. They deposed her. It took them years to find the right moment and the right coalition. That alone tells you how solid her grip was. She was captured and killed in 1240. She ruled for 4 years. In those 4 years, she never once pretended to be something other than what she was. A sultan, not a queen consort, not a regent, not a placeholder. A sultan. Number 11. Tamar of Georgia, the queen who built the Golden Age. There is a period in Georgian history called the Golden Age. It lasted from roughly 1184 to 1213. It was named after a woman. Tamar, styled King of Kings, Queen of Queens, Glory of the World, took the throne of Georgia at a moment when the kingdom was surrounded by enemies on every border. Seljuk Turks to the south, various claimants to the throne from inside, a fractious noble class that had spent decades reducing the power of the monarchy. Within a generation, Georgia controlled the Caucasus, large parts of northeastern Anatolia, and northern Iran. Her armies defeated multiple Islamic coalition forces. The Crusader states sent diplomatic missions to her court. Her influence stretched from the Black Sea to the Caspian. Dante put her in the Divine Comedy, not as a symbol, as a ruler worthy of specific recognition. She built churches. She funded poetry. The national epic of Georgia, The Knight in the Panther's Skin, was written for her, dedicated to her, in her court. When her first husband proved incompetent and politically damaging, she divorced him. The nobles who expected her to accept the situation and manage quietly discovered very quickly that she would not. She chose her second husband herself, a prince, a military commander, someone capable. She built the Golden Age around the decisions she made, not the ones that were made for her. Georgia still puts her face on its currency. Most people outside the Caucasus have never heard her name. Number 10. Ya Asantewa, the Queen Mother who shamed the chiefs into war. 1900. The British Empire has decided it wants the golden stool, not a metaphor, an actual stool, the sacred throne of the Ashanti people, the object that embodied the soul of the entire nation. The British governor, Frederick Hodgson, sat in front of the Ashanti chiefs and demanded they bring it to him so he could sit on it. The chiefs were silent, humiliated, unsure what to do. Then, Ya Asantewa stood up. She was the Queen Mother of Ejisu in her 60s, and she had watched enough. Her words were recorded. She said that if the men of Ashanti would not go forward, then the women would. She said she would call on her fellow women, and they would fight the white men. She said it was wrong, what the white men were doing, and she would not stand for it. The room shifted. She organized the War of the Golden Stool, the last major anti-colonial military campaign in West Africa. She designed strategy. She directed attacks on the British fort at Kumasi. She kept the campaign alive for months against one of the most powerful military forces on Earth. The British eventually captured her. They exiled her to the Seychelles, where she died in 1921. They never got the Golden Stool. It's still in Ghana. It was hidden during the war and never surrendered. The British occupied Ashanti for decades afterward and never found it. She lost the war. She won the thing the war was about. Number 9. Zenobia of Palmyra, the woman who conquered Egypt and made Rome send its emperor. In 270 AD, Rome was having a bad decade. The empire had fractured. Emperors were being assassinated faster than they could be replaced. The borders were under pressure from every direction simultaneously. Into that chaos, Zenobia, Queen of Palmyra, regent for her young son, made a decision. She invaded Egypt. Then she took it. Then she kept going. By 272 AD, Zenobia controlled Egypt, Syria, Palestine, and large parts of Anatolia, roughly a third of the Roman Empire's eastern territory. She declared herself Empress Augusta. She declared her son emperor. She issued coins with her face on them. She was not a general's wife making political moves behind a curtain. She rode at the front of her army. She reportedly drank with her officers after battles. Ancient sources describe her keeping pace with her cavalry on foot for miles as a demonstration to her troops. Rome tried twice to deal with her through subordinate commanders. Both times, Zenobia won. Eventually, Emperor Aurelian, one of Rome's most capable military leaders, came himself, with the full weight of the Roman army. She was captured at the Euphrates, trying to reach Persia for reinforcements. At her trial before the Roman Senate, she argued her own defense. In Latin, she named advisors she claimed had led her astray, a political move that was partially successful. Aurelian spared her life. He paraded her through Rome in golden chains. She reportedly wore them like jewelry. Number 8. Cutulun, the wrestler nobody could beat, and the throne she chose not to take. She was the great-great-granddaughter of Genghis Khan, and she had a rule. Any man who wanted to marry her had to beat her in wrestling first. If he lost, he gave her his horses. If he won, she would marry him. Nobody won. She accumulated 10,000 horses from defeated challengers. Marco Polo wrote about her specifically, not about her father, not about the court she lived in, about her. He described her riding into battle with her father's army, pulling enemy soldiers from their horses mid-charge. Her father, Kaidu Khan, one of the most powerful rulers in Central Asia, reportedly wanted her to succeed him. He trusted her military judgment over his sons. She accompanied him on campaigns, fought at his side, and advised him on strategy that he followed. She declined the throne, not because she couldn't handle it, because she understood the political reality better than anyone. A woman ruling the Mongol Khanate in the late 1200s would face immediate coalition opposition from the male commanders whose support she needed. She chose not to walk into a trap. That decision, knowing exactly what she was capable of and choosing the moment not to act, is its own kind of power. The horses stayed. The throne went to her brother. She remained undefeated until she died. Not a metaphor. Literally, nobody ever beat her. Number 7. Boudica, the queen who made Nero consider abandoning Britain. When Boudica's husband died in 61 AD, he left half his kingdom to Rome and half to his daughters, a compromise designed to protect his family. Rome took all of it. Then, Roman soldiers flogged Boudica publicly and assaulted her daughters. That was the mistake. Boudica, queen of the Iceni, a Celtic tribe in what is now eastern England, raised a coalition army estimated at over 100,000 warriors and moved south. Camulodunum, gone. Every Roman structure burned to the ground, the population killed. Londinium, Roman London, gone. Burned so completely that archaeologists can still find the ash layer today, a distinct red line in the soil underneath modern London. 70,000 Romans and Roman allies killed. Verulamium, St. Albans, gone. 3 of the most important Roman settlements in Britain, destroyed in sequence. When news reached Rome, Nero convened his advisors to discuss whether Britain should simply be abandoned. An entire province walked away from, because of one queen and the decision Rome had forced her into. The Roman governor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus returned from Wales, regrouped his forces, and eventually defeated her in a pitched battle, choosing terrain that neutralized her numerical advantage. She died shortly after, possibly by her own hand, possibly illness. The sources disagree. Rome rebuilt. The ash layer stayed. You can still find it, 20 feet below London. Her answer to what they did. Number 6. Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. 40 years against the Portuguese Empire. The Portuguese had been trying to consolidate control over the Ndongo kingdom in Central Africa for years. Then Nzinga arrived at the negotiating table. 1621. She came to Luanda to negotiate with the Portuguese governor on behalf of her brother, the king. The governor had arranged the room with a deliberate insult. Chairs for his delegation, a floor mat for hers. A visual demonstration of who was superior. Nzinga looked at the mat, looked at the room. Then she signaled one of her attendants to come forward, got down on one knee, and her attendant became her chair. She conducted the entire negotiation elevated above the floor mat. She left with a treaty. That was the opening move of a 40-year campaign. When her brother was killed and the throne was at risk, she took it. She formed alliances with the Dutch against the Portuguese. When the Portuguese pushed harder, she retreated to the neighboring kingdom of Matamba, conquered it, and used it as a base. She fought, she negotiated, she formed coalitions that fell apart and built new ones. She broke treaties when it suited her and honored them when it didn't. She led troops in battle personally into her 60s, wearing armor, carrying weapons. Her commanders reported that she fought at the front. She died in 1663 at roughly 80 years old, still ruling, never surrendered, still sovereign. The Portuguese never fully conquered Ndongo while she was alive. It took them until after her death. Number 5. Hatshepsut, the pharaoh who was erased and still won. She ruled Egypt for 20 years. She sent trading expeditions to the land of Punt, the first recorded in Egyptian history, that returned with frankincense trees, ebony, gold, and ivory. She built Deir el-Bahari, one of the most architecturally sophisticated temples in Egyptian history. She expanded the kingdom's trade networks, maintained peace, and oversaw one of the most prosperous periods of the 18th dynasty. By any metric, economic, architectural, diplomatic, Hatshepsut was one of the most successful pharaohs Egypt ever had. After her death, her successors spent years trying to erase her. Her name was chiseled off monuments. Her statues were buried. Her cartouche, the royal nameplate carved in stone, was removed from temple walls across Egypt. The list of pharaohs compiled by later rulers skipped her entirely, jumping from her predecessor directly to her successor, as if the 20 years she ruled had simply not occurred. He almost succeeded. It wasn't until 1822, when Egyptologists began deciphering hieroglyphics, that the inconsistencies appeared. Monuments that referred to a pharaoh the records didn't account for. A ruler described in masculine terms whose titles and iconography didn't match any known king. It took another century of archaeology to piece together who she was. Her mummy was identified in 2007 from a tooth found in a canopic box labeled with her name, matched to an unidentified woman found in a different tomb entirely. The tooth fit. They spent a generation trying to disappear her. She's still here. Number 4. Athelflaed, Lady of the Mercians, the woman who built England. You know Alfred the Great. You were taught about the man who held England together against the Viking invasions, established law codes, promoted literacy, and began the unification of what would become one kingdom. You were probably not taught about his daughter. Ethelflaed became Lady of the Mercians, ruler of the most powerful Anglo-Saxon kingdom after Wessex, following the death of her husband. She could have held the title and let her advisors govern. She could have been a regent in name only. Instead, she built a network of fortified burhs, military strongholds positioned to defend Mercia's borders, and give her army staging points for offensive operations. Then she went on offense. She personally led campaigns into the Danelaw, the Viking-controlled territories of the north and east, retaking Derby, Leicester, and York. She coordinated strategy with her brother Edward of Wessex, and together they squeezed the Viking settlements from 2 directions simultaneously. The Viking lords of York reportedly offered her their submission before she even arrived. Her reputation preceded the army. When she died in 918, the Mercian nobles attempted to transfer loyalty to her teenage daughter. Edward, her own brother, moved immediately to absorb Mercia directly into Wessex, rather than allow another woman to hold that kind of power, which tells you exactly how much power she had actually held. The unified England that Alfred dreamed of was built by 2 people, him and his daughter. History gave him the credit and called her a lady. She was a king in everything except the word. Number 3. Empress Wu Zetian, the only woman to rule China as emperor in her own name. In over 4,000 years of Chinese imperial history, one woman held the title of emperor, not empress consort, not empress dowager, not regent for a child. Emperor, in her own name, by her own authority, for 15 years. Wu Zetian entered the Tang imperial court as a concubine at 14. By the time she was done, she had outlived 2 emperors, reformed the civil service examination system that governed how officials were selected, expanded the empire's borders, crushed multiple rebellions, and built a network of informants that made her one of the most politically secure rulers in Chinese history. She also had people killed, rivals, threats, family members who became inconvenient. The historical record is not gentle about this, and neither should we be. She accumulated power through means that were brutal, even by the standards of an era where brutal was the baseline. But here is the thing about Wu Zetian that her enemies, and she had many, could never argue around. China got bigger under her rule, richer, more stable. The civil service reforms she implemented produced better administrators. The military campaigns she directed succeeded. The economy she managed grew. She was 70 years old when she was finally deposed by a palace coup while she was ill. The men who replaced her reversed almost none of her policies, because the policies worked. They just needed her gone. They put a man on the throne and kept everything she had built. She died 3 months later. The dynasty she founded had already erased her name from it. Number 2. Qing Shi, the pirate queen who retired undefeated. Let's put this in numbers. Blackbeard, 1 ship, 40 cannons, 300 men. Bartholomew Roberts, the most successful pirate in the Golden Age by ships captured, 400 ships over 4 years, never commanded more than a few hundred men at once. Qing Shi, 1,800 ships, 80,000 sailors. A fleet divided into 6 color-coded squadrons, each with its own commander, reporting to her. She wasn't born into power. She was a sex worker in a floating brothel in Canton when Zheng Yi, a powerful pirate commander, proposed to her. She accepted under one condition: equal partnership in his operation. He agreed. When he died in 1807, she didn't wait to see what would happen next. She immediately secured the loyalty of his commanders, adopted his most capable lieutenant as her second in command, and took control of the entire Red Flag fleet before anyone could organize an alternative. She issued a code of laws: stealing from villages that paid protection, death; desertion, ears cut off; second offense, death; giving orders without authority, death; any sailor who forced himself on a captured woman, death; any sailor who consensually took a woman from a captured vessel and then abandoned her, death. The code was enforced. The fleet operated with a discipline that the Chinese Imperial Navy, which tried and failed multiple times to destroy her, couldn't match. China tried, Portugal tried, the British East India Company tried, none of them could beat her. In 1810, the Chinese government offered her a peace negotiation. She walked into the meeting unescorted, unarmed. She negotiated in person and left with an arrangement that let her keep most of her fleet's wealth, allowed her sailors to be absorbed into the Imperial Navy with their ranks recognized, and gave her personal permission to operate a gambling business. She retired. She ran the gambling house until she died at 69, wealthy, free, and never once defeated in battle. The most successful pirate commander in recorded human history died in her own bed. You were taught about Blackbeard. Number 1. Tomyris, the queen who killed the most powerful man on earth. 530 BC. Cyrus the Great of Persia rules the largest empire the world has ever seen. He has conquered Babylon. He has taken Media, Lydia, and the Greek colonies of Anatolia. He has never lost a campaign. His army is the most experienced, best equipped, most battle-tested force on the planet. He decides he wants the territory of the Masajte, a Scythian people living east of the Caspian Sea. Their ruler is a widow named Tomyris. He sends an offer of marriage first, a diplomatic move, a way to take the kingdom without a battle. She says no. He crosses the river with his army. She sends him a message. She tells him to go back. She says she is not afraid of him. She tells him that if he insists on war, she will give him more blood than he can drink. He keeps coming. Tomyris sends her son, Spargapizes, with a forward force to draw the Persians in. Cyrus kills or captures most of them. Her son, captured, takes his own life rather than be held. Now she has lost her husband and her son. She engages Cyrus with her full army. Herodotus, who wrote the account, who was not sympathetic to barbarian queens defeating Greek-admired Persian kings, recorded that it was the fiercest battle between non-Greek peoples in history, and that Tomyris won. Cyrus the Great died on that battlefield, the most powerful man on earth, never beaten, never turned back, dead. What happened next, Herodotus recorded faithfully, even though it made his Greek readers uncomfortable. Tomyris had his body found on the battlefield. She had his head brought to her. She had a wineskin filled with human blood, and she submerged his head in it. She said he had thirsted for blood his whole life. Now he could drink his fill. Whether those exact words were spoken or shaped in the retelling, the battle happened. Cyrus died there. Herodotus is not the only source. The most powerful man on earth came for a widow's kingdom. She killed him, and history gave us Cyrus the Great and forgot her name. 15 women, empires built, armies commanded, enemies defeated, crowns worn and sometimes taken back by force. History didn't lose these names by accident. The record was kept by people who decided what mattered, and for a very long time, this didn't. It does now. If this one changed something for you, share it and subscribe, because this channel is just getting started on the things they didn't teach you.